Welcome, everybody, to the What Just Happened episode, talking about the Michigan game. Um, Clearly, we didn't win, or else, like I said, my brother was going to jump on here because, of course, if we would have beat Michigan, that would have been totally exciting and probably would have gotten on here and done some stuff. But it is just me. We're going to talk about the Michigan game. I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of my weekend that was up in Lincoln. And of course, we'll chat about the game. Um, Usually I like to kind of come up with an outline and talk about, kind of give me a little bit of structure of how I want to go about my video. Um, this time I decided I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of let myself just kind of go all over and just kind of give my thoughts. Just kind of on the game, where we're at as a program, um, both in like as the actual program and kind of where we're at as a fan base. Because a lot of times I like to go over the reaction and talk about how different podcasters or the sports talk shows react. I haven't really watched anything because I feel like my reaction to this game is into this program is probably going to be very different to a lot of people, especially other um, podcasters, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them. Because, like, yeah, the game sucked. There's a lot of things that need to get worked on, and we'll go over that eventually. We'll probably look at some stats to kind of help back up some of my thoughts and on the game and players and everything else. But just going off of previous games and previous losses and previous moments in this program where going in, everybody was kind of on a high, believing in what this team was, what this program was. And then to see what would happen, have the type of result that we had on Saturday. I've seen enough of those Sunday reactions show, post game shows, YouTube shows, podcast shows, all that stuff. I've seen enough of it to know what the reaction was going to be. So I didn't really want to. I did download one post show to listen to on my way home from Lincoln back here to St. Louis. And that was the Husker Online post show. Because usually, no matter what's going on, Sean, Sip, Robin, those guys usually are fairly level headed. They kind of talk through a bunch of stuff. Never let things get too crazy. But I turned it off after like the first, I don't know, 5 minutes maybe. And it wasn't because it's not that I don't like listening to people complain or go off or do whatever. But what I can't stand, and this is why I turned this off, is, and I don't know, this might not be the right word, but it kind of felt like that in the moment. They weren't being honest. They weren't being honest. And I hate whenever, and sometimes it is just the emotion of the game, right after that you don't realize that you're being dishonest. But I watch Husker Online all the time. I watch a lot of stuff all the time. And all off season long, especially during fall camp, those guys talked about how good our offensive line is. Oh, this is going to be a dangerous offensive line. Ooh, they talked them up so good. And within the first couple minutes, whether it's factual or not, the first thing they said was about how we have a problem at left tackle, and we've been saying this for a while now. Bull. Bull. Go back and rewatch your own shows, guys. Go back and rewatch your own shows. You know, one thing about me that I'm gonna be the best that I can be about is I'm gonna be consistent on what I think. And guess what? Yeah, this loss sucked. Yes, there's a lot of things that I think need to get addressed and worked on, and I think they will. And I still think maybe not 10-2 now because I had Michigan as a win, and I don't see, you know, I mean, you never know because the team could get better as the season goes on. Something could just kind of click with certain players that something just happens. You see it every once in a while. I know that's kind of, grasping at straws, thinking that, well, maybe this could happen. So, again, maybe you pull out a upset win at USC. I don't know. But I still think a 9-3, 10-2, 8-4, that's still a successful season. That's still a good season. Just because my prediction might not be correct of exactly 10-2 doesn't mean that I think now that this is a lost season and that we suck as a program. Because I don't think that's the case. I really, really don't. I will always look for the positives in this program because that's how you can keep building and getting better. Find the positives, work on the things that need to get worked on, and keep building forward. You're never going to see me come all of a sudden on the show, especially after a loss, and all of a sudden become snarky, sarcastic, be one of those nihilist style fans that just want to shit on everything and then try to make it seem like I'm cool because I just shit on the stuff that sucks. So, whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that type of person. Okay. And I hate losing. I hate losing way more than I enjoy winning. Way more. This stuff sucks. I hate this. I hate the buildup. And then all of a sudden you come out, and what I hated was the fact that almost instantly I had this gut feeling like, oh no, we're going to lose this game. And it happened in the first two drives. You don't take the points. You luckily got them to punt, and then you turn around and you still couldn't get any points. The next thing you know, they're up 10-0. You're not going to win. And normally, I don't necessarily hate that type of call. If you're inside the 5-yard line going into the end zone, I don't hate going for it on a fourth down. Because if you don't get it, you got to make that team drive 95+ yards down the field. And you never know. There could be a holding in the end zone. That's a safety. You could actually cause a safety. You could cause a fumble. You could, there's so many different things in that type of tight area that could happen, that could go your way, that I usually don't hate that decision. But whenever it's the first drive of the damn game, take the damn points. Get good momentum going. Take the points. Any other time of the game, I'm fine with that. But you're going up against a ranked opponent, an opponent that program status-wise is better than you. Take the momentum, get the points. First drive of the game and you don't take the points is inexcusable. So, like I said, this is why I kind of didn't want to take notes. I knew I was going to just start raining anyway. So here I go. Let's just go ahead. Let me kind of back up. Let's go over just kind of the weekend that was, right? So, got into Lincoln on Friday. Had a good time with my aunt, my grandmother. We went out to eat. A place called The Venue. Delicious meal. Just had a good night there. And then got ready for Saturday. Got up, met up with my cousin. And, we hit up, started off, oh man, I can't remember the name of the place, but it's like this German place. Had a couple brats, had a couple good beers, great atmosphere. The place was really cool. And then from there, we went to a place called the End Zone. And my cousin kind of surprised me with this. I didn't realize why he was wanting to go to the end zone, you know, or like why it was specific that like he was like, we've got to go, like we have to go. And for some reason, like I can't get this to hold on. Can't get this photo up here, but I'll just show it through my phone. At the end zone on the kind of like main wall as you enter down, they have like this like water jug sitting there for people to just come get like free water. There's a picture of the stadium up there, and this is gonna be kind of glary. Anyway, see the guy leaning up against the fence. Let's see, there we go. In that orange hat, that's my grandfather. So we went and had a beer with him. Sorry, wasn't expecting that. I didn't even get emotional whenever we had a beer with him. God. Anyway, okay, so that was a great moment. Like I said, he was a usher there with the Boy Scouts for decades. So that was really cool seeing that he's up there. Whew. So if you guys ever go to the end zone, my grandpa's beer famous now, or bar famous, okay? So go have a beer with my grandfather. All right, anyway, then we head up a couple tailgates with some friends, with some other cousins. It was a good time. Got up to our seats, great seats in the north end zone. So we could see a lot of stuff from behind. We had just, you just had the kind of good perception on what was going on the field. Obviously, the game itself, that was rough, like I said, and we'll go over that more. But overall, it was just fun. It was a good time. It's always good to get back and see family. Nebraska always feels like home. I mean, it just always does. Doesn't matter how long in between my visits. Sometimes, whenever I get there, it's like I never left. It just always love getting my little runs of fix. Or this time I didn't do it, but a lot of times I always try to get my valves fixed. Whenever those little things that just kind of remind you of home. So, but anyway, let's go ahead. I want to dive into some stats real quick before we really kind of let myself rant more. All right, so I've got the box score up here. And, again, a lot of these things that happen didn't shock me, right? If you watch my preview show, you guys know what I said. I said one thing about their offense is not one specific player scares me necessarily, right? And it's still, you can say, well, Justice Haynes went off. Well, yes, he did. No doubt about that. But his stats are no different than what we've seen, right? I mean, literally, there's no stats that Michigan has put up shocks me. The one difference really, and it's not a huge difference because you saw this in the Central Michigan game, was the addition of Bryce Underwood's run yards. And it's not like he ran for a lot, 8 carries, 61 yards. That's a pretty decent game, but that little bit adds just enough for what Michigan was able to do. But again, the only thing that I think I might have or didn't realize maybe underappreciated was their defensive line would probably be the thing. Of course I figured they would be able to rush Dillon and get to Dillon and do something. I didn't think they would get him 7 times. And kind of the same thing with the running backs. I knew Like I knew, because this has happened in so many games. It even happened in the Oklahoma game. Justice Haynes was going to break one and get like one or two long runs. But what needed to happen was Nebraska's defense needed to keep the rest of the game under wraps as best as they could. And the problem is they couldn't, because then they let Bryce get a long run for a touchdown. They allowed Jordan Marshall to get a long run for a touchdown. So, you know, all these different things. I've seen a lot of people kind of talk about, Dylan's performance. Dylan, again, he still threw the ball 70 something percentage completion. It was 70, I think 73, or something like that for the game, and 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have his first interception. And look, he was not going to go the whole season without throwing an interception. Like, that wasn't going to happen. So, okay, got one, whatever. And then you go look at Bryce's 12 of 22, right at 50%, like he's been doing, 100 yards, barely, 105. I mean, this is another game that at the end of the game, you sat there and went, we should have won that game. We should have won that game. And the reason why I say we should have won that game is the missed opportunities. There were opportunities given to us that we did not capitalize on. We couldn't get the team off on third down. We had special teams opportunities that we, get shoestring tackled for the 500th time. We catch a punt inside the 5-yard line, which is inexcusable. We missed an extra point. We missed a field goal, which, again, nobody's going to be perfect all year long, but man, picked a bad time to miss your first field goal all of a sudden. These things all of a sudden started to creep up on us, especially like special teams wise, that, looked to be much better first handful of these games this year. Ja'Cory Barney, man, such a just this push and pull, man. Dude's a stud. He is a stud. He's an athlete. The dude's tough as nails. But the guy that keeps getting up like nothing happened after the dude gets murdered half the time with some of these tackles that he takes. How do you get shoestring tackled so many times? Because I'll tell you right now, if the dude's pinky doesn't touch Ja'Cory Barney on that punt returns, I was sitting, like I said, I could see a lot of open stuff because we're right there, right? We're right behind the field of play. And on that specific punt, he was, his back was to us, so we could see the whole field. And Ja'Cory read it right. That was why that would have been a touchdown. That punt return would have been for a touchdown. But the dude's fingernail caught his cleat, and he went down. But then he goes 6 receptions, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and caught the Hail Mary pass because the dude's a beast. I just don't understand how you can also, though, just get so easily tackled. Luke Lindenmeyer kind of had a nice rebound game. 7 catches, 60 yards. Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter both, had some good catches. And, but man, 5 catches between the two of them. I mean, that's kind of what we ended up seeing last year between Jamal Banks and I was about to say Isaiah Hunter again. Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, our two transfer wide receivers last year, were big, kind of showed up in the first couple, non-conference games, and then got into conference and they kind of went away. Let's hope that does not continue. Cortez Mills had a nice catch. Heinrich Arbor came up and played big. Let's see here on defense, man. We'll talk a lot about defense, but if you just look at the stats, um, Javen Wright was all over the field. Vince Shavers was all over the field. Uh, the stats are, I mean, 5 total tackles from Rex Guthrie, but man, I felt like I heard his name a lot in the stadium. And then Dasan McCullough, again, his stats don't look great. Said, 2 tackles. He did get the 1 sack, but I felt like he was all over the field. But yeah, I mean, again, you look over here, didn't do much with the receivers, but it was all running. And get off of that. All right. And it was all running. And in the Big Ten, I mean, really in football period, but in the Big Ten especially, you got to know how to run the ball and stop the run game. And that's how you win. That's how you win games. And Nebraska in this game, whenever you look at the stats, clearly could not run the ball and couldn't stop the run. And I don't even fully want to say we couldn't run the ball because we were running the ball pretty good in the first half. But in the second half, I think Emmett only had 5 carries for 10 yards. 5 carries? What are we doing? Like, one of the bigger things that I had a big problem with in this game is the play calling. I don't know why you're running away from the run game whenever, to be honest, I mean, the first play of the game was Emmett Johnson rushing for 14 yards. I think we could run. You know what we were struggling with? Pass blocking. So how about let's just keep dropping back? That makes no sense. And then whenever we, that first drive, whenever we did get into the red zone, what are we doing throwing a fade route? Oh, because of all those times it's worked so far against lesser opponents? Oh, that's right. It didn't work then either. Either it's a throw that Dylan does not throw very well, or it's a route that our wide receivers don't run very well. Whatever the case may be, it hasn't worked. So why are we running that again? You know what has worked a lot? Our tight end play. You know what has worked a lot? The RPOs with our wide receivers crossing over the middle. Those have worked. And we don't run it. If we're going to throw the ball down there, get some crossing routes. There's not a lot of room, right? The field gets collapses on you because there's no room. All you have is the end zone. So you can have a lot of bodies just going all over the place. Use those bodies against each other. Create space that way. Dylan's good. He's a smart quarterback. He can see the field. I think he can get the ball in there. You don't have to just throw these fades in the corner that just go nowhere. That's a wasted down. Now it's 3rd and 5. I just don't get it. And, from some of the things that I have seen, because like I said, I haven't really watched anything, but I have seen comments on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And, whenever you do get busted for 300 yards of rushing, right? The first thing you go to is blaming the defense. Oh, we got blown off the ball. Our defensive line sucks and blah. To be honest, whenever I was watching it and some of the clips I was trying to watch, because I would have liked to have watched the full game to really see it on TV, but just didn't have some time. Maybe I'll get to do that later today. I'm not sure if I'll have all the time in the world to do that. Maybe if I can get my son to watch TV in his room for a little bit and I can have the TV to myself. But it didn't look like our defensive line was just getting bullied and blown off the ball. Because here's the thing is our defense is running a lot of stunts, and instead of just going full force straight forward like just a normal based forefront defensive line, right? Of just, okay, boom, we're off the ball, we're going forward, now we're trying to read. take double teams, do all that type of stuff. They're stunning. So their first steps are back to go around. And I don't fully think we have the defensive linemen to do that type of stuff, to be honest with you. And then what's happening is they're getting caught up. There's several times that from what I saw, was we would have a stunt guy or defensive tackle lined up, and he's stunting out to come around the outside of the defensive end. But then our defensive end is trying to cut in, and he can't get there. And then now there's two defensive linemen on the outside of the tight end, outside of the tackle, getting pushed further out. There's the big holes, and our linebackers and safeties are not filling the gaps at all. That Bryce Underwood touchdown, I knew what was happening. I saw it right away because everybody just kind of flew out, and it was just wide open. I'm like, oh, he's touching it. Yeah. Not surprised. So again, it's not that like our guys are so undersized that they're just getting thrown back, because they're not. But our linebackers and our safeties that are supposed to be gap filling are not gap filling very well at all. That is the problem with our run defense. Is in this style of defense, you have to rely on good gap discipline and fills from your linebackers and your secondary. And they can't do it. They just straight up cannot do it. They're hesitant. I see a lot of hesitancy from knowing where they need to fill. And some of them are just kind of playing like hero ball. And what I mean by that is, instead of filling and being disciplined and filling in where you're supposed to go, they're looking for the ball and just kind of trying to, I want to be the one to go make the tackle, instead of filling where you need to go to allow the defense as a whole to make the play. They're just trying to go be the guy to go make a tackle. That's what I'm seeing. And again, I'm not, I don't have like the full 22 and actual like film to sit there and rewatch and do, I'm just going off of what I see on the field from live being there, and then some of the clips I can see from a TV broadcast. But man, that two things during this offseason needs to happen, regardless of how the season goes the rest of the way. Whether we rebound and play really well, I don't care. Two things need to happen during the offseason. Spend a lot of money on a big running back, and spend a lot of money on a defensive line. And I know I just kind of defended the defensive line, but what I'm saying is, regardless, we need to get NFL style caliber players at those two positions, because that is a problem. I mean, it just is. I mean, hopefully you continue to develop and bulk up guys like Riley Van Poppel and Keona Davis, and I think Elijah Judy is a senior, so he'll be gone. But Gade Petrock, any of those type of guys, let's bulk them up, get them in the middle. Gabe Moore, Jalen George, all those guys, bulk them up. It might be time too to switch up our defensive philosophy and stop going with the quick 3-3-5 multiple style defense, and maybe go more to a 4-2-5 or a 4-3 or 3-4, and kind of play a little more straightforward big man football and do it that way. I don't know. Again, I'm not, just because of this loss, I'm not writing off the rest of the season. Like, that's not going to happen. But I'm also not going to hide and pretend like there aren't some problems that probably need to get addressed. Because there does. Things need to get addressed. But I'll tell you right now, I saw a little bit of the comments from Dylan after the game about, no, this actually sucks. I think he was asked about does having a bye week now kind of help kind of do whatever, and he's like, no, this sucks, and we gotta sit with this loss for 2 weeks. But from what he said and the way he said it, has me believing that this team is not going to sit well with this. And maybe we kind of see, the year one after Michigan lost, right? Came back and kind of looked like a nastier team against Illinois on that Friday night game. Maybe now we got 2 weeks for this team to get nastier. And, maybe this was a little bit of a wake up call. Maybe they were feeling themselves a little too much after two big wins against a way inferior opponents. Maybe that's part of it too. Part of this building process is this team needs to learn how to have success of any kind. And how to really prepare week to week. And I don't know. Maybe this is going to be part of it. Maybe this needs to be a part of a little bit of a wake up call. Again, this one loss doesn't change this season. But what I did think going into this game, I thought this game was big enough that it meant it definitely could have been and should have been the start of what this program was going to be going forward. And again, talk about opportunities that during the game that we kind of, just didn't capitalize on. This game as a whole was an opportunity to put this program back up on the center stage, and they didn't capitalize. Lose by 3 points. And again, people can sit there and say, well, no, technically it's more like 10. Well, you know what? Final score is what the final score is. You lost by 3. We didn't look like a team that didn't belong on the field. We didn't. If you want to get unemotional about it and just look at facts and how it was, we didn't look like a team that didn't belong on the field with Michigan. Like I said, I personally think we still look like the team that should have won. But again, can't make those mistakes. And whenever an opportunity in the middle of the game arises to capitalize it and take over the game, you got to take it. You got to take it. Whenever, and those opportunities are third and long, get off the field, get the ball to your offense, make them punt, go all out. You got to have this mentality of like, no, not today. You're not getting this yard. Instead, it's missed tackle here, missed tackle there, boom. Oh, you needed 17? Well, they just got 25. And that's just due to, I don't know, lack of discipline, lack of want to. I don't know. I don't know what it is for them. I'm not in their practices. I'm not in their heads. But there's a lot of things that they need to work on. There's a lot of positives too. Like I said, I still think overall we've got a lot of talent. I think lack of experience might have reared its ugly head in this game too. I think some of that with some of our young guys, especially on defense. But on the offensive line, our tackles just got blown off the ball every time. And what are we doing still rotating all 3 guys at left tackle? What are we doing? One guy with maybe a backup that can come in for whatever reason. One guy. Still rotating 3. I remember looking up there and, guy just blew past our left tackle. And at first it was, like, Gunner, what in the world, man? Where did that come? And then I look up on the screen at the replay and it was Turner Corcoran. How many times does Turner Corcoran have to show you that he cannot play football? At least not left tackle. Before, and this is over now 2 coaching staffs that keep giving him opportunity after opportunity to keep proving what all the fans keep saying, in that he is not good. He's not. Now, I don't know if he's good at guard. I know there's people have talked about him possibly playing guard and he'd be a good guard. I don't know. But not at left tackle. Probably not at right tackle either. Stop playing Turner Corcoran. It makes zero sense. In all honesty, I didn't think he looked good whenever he came in the Cincinnati game. I don't think he's looked too good in the Akron or the HCU games. I thought he looked slow in those too. I don't get. You either play Gunner because you can trust him more overall, or you play Elijah Pritchard because he's better athletically and physically, but you just got to deal with the mental lapses every once in a while. You got to do one or the other. But just stick with it. Let them work it. Let them work through the problems during the game. It just, I don't get the 3-man rotation at left tackle. Game 4, by game 4. Game 1, sure, okay. Don't like it, but I can understand it. Right? You're trying to get game film on these 3 and really kind of find who's the guy. But you shouldn't be doing that in game 4. Not game 4. Like I said, I mean, look, our secondary, our pass defense is still really good. Only allowed 105 yards. Like, it feels like a big fail, right? Coming off of 3 straight games of 60 something yards passing every game. But man, only allowing 105 yards passing is still, that's an insane number. I mean, that's just crazy. You know, it's not like we're playing, not like we're playing Air Force or Navy or, you know, the teams that still run triple option or something. And I don't know if Air Force still does, but, you know, it's not like we're playing one of those teams that just literally does nothing but run the ball. You know, we're playing a normal offense, you know, big time, you know, big time power 4, big time blue blood. They've got a 5-star quarterback, held to 105 yards passing. So our pass defense still is elite. Now we just got to get the rest of the defense going. Got to play the run better. And I don't know if it's just going to come down to better play calling and not running as many stunts, kind of play a little more base, straightforward, you know, type of stuff, blitzes, you know, something, I don't know, or just the players have just got to get better and trust their eyes, trust the process, trust the defense that's being called on the field better. I don't know, one of the two. But something needs to happen, or else it will be a long season. But you know, got 2 weeks now for this team to try to get better, and then these next 4 games, you got to go 4-0. Right? We got Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, and then Northwestern, I believe. You have to go 4-0. If you want to be the team that, you know, as far as to the players, if you want to be the type of team that you say you are, that you want to be, you have to go 4-0. You should, Nebraska should be favored in all 4 of these games, and Nebraska should win all 4 of these games. We should be the better program right now, period, over the next 4. So, got to go 4-0 now. There is no other option, but you got to go 4-0. And then you get into the rest, right? So then it's UCLA, USC, Penn State, and Iowa. You at least got to go 2-2. I think you at least got to go 2-2. I think you have to beat UCLA and you have to beat Iowa, and then hope that you play well against Penn State and USC and see where your program is at. See just where this team is at. But look, you go 4-0 in the next 4 games, you're going bowling, right? So then you'll make a bowl. Probably you'll make a bowl game, the earliest this program has ever qualified for a bowl game in a very long time. And then you got the last 4 games to you know prove where you are as a program. So, and then the last thing here I'll just kind of mention, because I kind of started seeing this a lot on X too, and it's like this weird national media obsession with dunking on Dylan and the whole Patrick Mahomes comparison. Like, why are you guys so obsessed with this? It's weird. It's weird. Like, not one time has God, not one time has Dylan ever come out and just like gushed over Patrick Mahomes. He'll get asked about it every once in a while, and he's mentioned like, the 15 actually comes from Tim Tebow. Like, he really likes Tim Tebow. He grew up really liking Tim Tebow. You know, Dylan's had his hairstyle for a very long time. Like, for a very long time. Probably would have been whenever Patrick Mahomes was at Texas Tech. Okay. It's not like Patrick was a big time, well known player at Texas Tech. Not to the level that he is now, at least. And I don't even know what haircut he had at that point. But I doubt like Dylan was watching Texas Tech football as a young kid. And like, hey, I want that haircut. I want to be like that guy. For everybody that talks about like the throwing motion and all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, guess what? Whenever there's like a big time quarterback that's really successful and popular and just happens to have like a certain style about him that makes him different, kids start emulating that. A lot of people wanted to be Brett Favre. A lot of people want to be Peyton Manning. Right? A lot of people back in the day wanted to be like Troy Aikman, Tom Brady, Michael Vick. Man, there were a lot of Michael Vick copycatters. Now, his physical appearance, he cannot help. That is how he looks. But like I said, a lot of the throwing motion stuff, the way he does stuff, he trains with Patrick every off season. They have the same quarterback coach that works with all of them in the off season. You think he's probably getting coached up the same? Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point Dylan can't even do like a flex celebration. Oh, he's doing the Patrick Mahomes flex. Everybody does the flex celebration. They were doing it way before Patrick ever did it. They're going to be doing it long after Patrick's done it. Patrick is just also doing a flex celebration that people like to do. I mean, on the very first game, ESPN was like, "Oh, look at the compare. Look how close they are to the same. They both wear game play call wrist things on their." Yes, so do a lot of quarterbacks. Like, I get it. There are some similarities. The dude clearly does look up to Patrick, because why wouldn't you? You're in this opportunity to work with almost every offseason with the greatest quarterback playing in NFL right now. Definitely one of the biggest winners in the NFL. Of course, you're going to emulate him a little bit. And sometimes there's probably certain things that Dylan does that he doesn't even realize is similar to the same thing that Patrick does, because he's probably around him a lot and has just naturally picked that stuff up. That happens all the time. Like, there's a lot of times that you guys hear me talk right now. I will talk. I just kind of talk, right? There's no like weird accent or anything else like that. But if I'm on a road trip or something, or I'm been sitting here for a couple hours playing NCAA and I'm playing nothing but country music, guess what? All of a sudden, you know what you're gonna kind of hear me kind of talk like this a little bit. You're gonna have a little bit of it there. Maybe not quite like this, but It just will kind of just randomly kind of come out in certain words. All of a sudden, I'll sound very country. It's just because I've just heard that accent for like hours, 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 hours. So it just kind of comes out a little bit. Like that stuff happens whenever you're around a group of friends. Say like you just moved to a new place, and you're working or you're now around a bunch of new friends that they have certain terms and lingo that you've never used before, and then all of a sudden, a month in, you'll be with visiting somebody else, and you'll randomly say it just because it's now second nature. And somebody's like, "What? I've never heard you use that word before." Oh yeah, my new group of friends say this stuff all the time. Yeah, I didn't realize I used that word. Like that stuff happens, but like just the with the vitriol that I have seen, like it's almost like they're mad. It's so weird. I do not understand it. And again, I know it came in a loss, but the dude threw for over 70% completion, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, and this dude still just gets dunked on and still will not get the respect that he deserves about how good of a quarterback he is. And sometimes it's even coming from our own fan base, sitting here trying to talk about like TJ Lateef should replace him. Miss me with all that. That is a terrible take. Is TJ going to be a really good quarterback someday? Yeah, probably. He looks to have great athleticism, a great arm, all that stuff. But all we have seen from TJ is in the second half of 2 blowout wins against Akron and Houston Christian. And you just assume that those performances are better than the performances over the last season and 4 games that we've seen from Dylan. Like nobody sometimes, and I know it's not just our fan base. I think it's just fan bases in general. We're never going to get a quarterback like ever that's going to meet the expectations of what you think a quarterback should be in your head. And what I mean by that is sometimes I feel like fans will have this thought in their head that, oh, a 5-star quarterback means that Dylan will come out every game, throw for over 80% completion, never throw an interception ever, never fumble the ball, and will throw for 500 yards every game. Oh, but on top of that, though, because we are Nebraska fans, and we want to see us run the ball. So we better also give our running back the ball 30 times to run for over 200 yards. See how unrealistic that is whenever you actually say it out loud? Like, Dylan is playing exactly like a 5-star quarterback should be playing. There's some things maybe we wish he was a little bit better at, like his mobility, reading the pocket a little bit, because some of the times, if he would have just stepped up in the pocket a little bit instead of keep backing up, his pocket presence does need to get worked on a little bit. Um, you know, Sometimes when he gets into really bad situations, he does try to maybe throw it into a spot. Maybe he shouldn't. But again, he's still only a true sophomore. So overall, whenever you just take a step back and take a look at how Dylan's actually playing, he's playing really, really good. I think he is definitely one of the top 5-10 quarterbacks in college football this season. And some of our fans are legit whenever they say they want to see TJ Lateef come in and play for him. That's just crazy. Crazy. So hopefully over these next 2 weeks, everybody has a chance to sit back, take a breather, and realize that the sky isn't falling as hard as we think it is. Missed opportunity? For sure. Should this game have gone differently? I think so. But that doesn't change what the season can end up being. And let's not act like this season's already over. So, all right. Next week, since we do have a bye week, I don't know. I'll definitely do some kind of show Um, I don't know what kind of show I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just kind of go over what happened in college football in general. Kind of, I don't know, talk a little bit. Maybe I'll have a little more in-depth thoughts on this Michigan game, just on the season as a whole. Kind of what to look for the rest of this season. Um, Maybe look at the schedule, the rest of the remaining schedule. Maybe not do like go over my season prediction. I don't really want to change that. I like sticking with what I thought going into the season, but maybe look a little bit deeper now into what we have for the rest of the season and go game by game and just kind of give a little more in-depth analysis on what I think now after knowing what each team has for this season. Kind of give my thoughts, my new thoughts on what's to come. So keep a lookout for that. Outside of that, yeah, hey, I hope this team just, they get back in the lab and come up and get better. Because that's all you can do. That's all you can do. Get in, work hard, get better every day. So hopefully they'll do that. But until the next video, guys, thanks for coming in. Please hit the subscribe button, the like button, notification so you guys know whenever I'm going live. Yeah. Go Big Red, baby. Always.